Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Kamber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beale Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Kamber with another great guest impacting our community in a positive way. Today I welcome longtime Laguna Beach resident Heidi Miller, who believes in giving back to the community. She founded LIFESAVERS Foundation of Orange County after donating a life-saving kidney to Newport Beach Daily Pilot, LA Times columnist, and author Bruce Cook in 2017. She also was a bone marrow transplant donor for her best friend, Terry Riesdorf. In 2020, Donate Life America proclaimed her Donate Life One Legacy Honoree, Rose Parade Honoree. She sat on many boards, including the American Heart Association, City of Hope, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and has been a trustee on the board of directors at the Laguna Playhouse for 40 years. In 2018, Laguna Beach proudly named her Citizen of the Year. As an entrepreneur, she founded Heidi's Frozen Yogurt, 120 stores, tight assets, and the World Newsstand. She's here to talk about LIFESAVERS Foundation of Orange County and how she's mentored many people to become living organ donors. Heidi, it's an honor to chat with you. Thank you for being on Impact OC.
Oh, thank you so much, Dawn, and thanks for that lovely introduction.
Heidi, please explain LIFESAVERS Foundation of Orange County's mission.
Well, the mission is kind of back in 2017 when I donated my kidney. I saw that there was a need for more kidney donors, but financially it's not available for many people. You have to take time off work. There's costs such as travel, hotels, different things like that. And I thought, I could be a donor, but not everybody can do it financially. And there should be some kind of a support system that will help kidney donors, more and more kidney donors, save the gift of life. And so that's how the foundation started, is working my way up and up and up, trying to help find more donors to save more lives in Orange County.
Explain how you first donated.
Well, it was 2017, actually May. There was an event at the Balboa Bay Resort hosted by Carol Pickup and the Pickup family. And it was for Bruce Cook because they saw that he needed a kidney. He'd been on dialysis for 5.5 years, and he was getting weaker, and his skin was turning gray, and he worked for the Balboa Bay Resort, and they thought, let's do some kind of an awareness party and bring awareness to the need of live kidney donors. So they invited about 500 local people who came in. All the food was free, the drink was free. Rod Carew spoke. He had a heart kidney transplant a few years prior to that. Physicians talked. Peter Marshall from LA Hollywood, he spoke. But after the event, nobody came forward to get tested to save Bruce's life. I was invited to the party, but I was out of town at the time. So about a month and a half later, I was talking to a friend, and I just said, oh, by the way, how did Bruce's kidney awareness party go? And she said, wonderful. Tons of people. It was great, but not one person came forward. And he's dying. And I was like, well, what do you mean he's dying? He's on dialysis. I had no idea that dialysis was, I thought that saved your life. I didn't know it was just like putting your finger in a dike. You can't be on dialysis forever.
It's a temporary measure.
It's a machine cleaning your blood instead of kidneys. So I thought, well, maybe I've done something like this before, being a bone marrow transplant donor, and maybe I can do this again. So I called Bruce the next day, and he gave me his nephrologist's phone number, who I called, and they told me they're registered at 3 different hospitals. And so right that day, I made the phone calls, I filled out the donor forms, and off we went. And about 3.5 months later, lo and behold, I was a perfect match, almost such a perfect match, they thought we were related. And Bruce is, he's 6'5", 240, and I'm 5'3" and 118, so we look like Mutt and Jeff. And you'd never think that my little kidney would be perfect match for Bruce, but it was. And it actually was, your kidney's the size of your fist. Mine was about 1.5 times the size of my fist. So for a big guy like Bruce, it was perfect.
What kind of testing did you undergo? to become a match?
Well, after you fill out the donor form, they do some, you call and you talk to a transplant coordinator, and they give you a lot of information. You do a lot of blood work. You come in, and when you get normal blood work, it's like 3 or 4 little vials. And when you do it for being a kidney donor, there's about 30 or 40 different vials, because if you have a pimple on a pimple, they're going to find it. They want to research everything. You do like a urine test to make sure your kidney's output is good, but you also have things like a psych test to make sure that you're mentally capable to donate and there wouldn't be anything repercussions after that. You work with a social worker to make sure you're financially okay. And that's kind of where I started to think when they were interviewing me for the financial part, and they said, well, Heidi, what if you needed a little extra time to heal? Would you financially be okay? And I said, yes, I would be. But I started to think maybe other people wouldn't be. If you worked at Home Depot, say, as hourly wage and you can't miss a paycheck, would you be okay? They probably wouldn't. They would need extra help, paying for things, out-of-pocket expenses if they were to become a donor. And so in the back of my mind, I just kept thinking, okay, there's got to be a better way. We've got to be able to save more lives. I need to start a foundation. Bruce and I both, the minute we got out of the hospital, our focus was, okay, let's make sure other people can be given the gift of life.
Speaking of the gift of life, I want you to take us back when you were in the hospital and actually doing it. How did you feel? Were you ever in any fear?
It's so funny, Dawn. That's one of the things people always ask me. They say, weren't you afraid? Weren't you fearful? And I was never, ever, ever afraid. And I think because in my mind, when I set my mind to something, I complete it. Whether it's been Heidi's Frogen Yozert, it's tied assets, it's sitting on boards, it's doing things. When I start, I finish. So I never, ever had any kind of a negative in my head. And I remember getting to the hospital. We had to, the night before, we had dinner as kind of a family with Bruce and his wife and at the Ivy, and then we checked into the hotel because we had to be at Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills at, I think, 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So we had all that. It was wonderful. We got up in the morning, went to the hospital. You do all the check-in, do all that stuff. You're in the waiting room. It's just like you're waiting for the dentist or the doctor. You're in a waiting room. And all of a sudden, they came to get me. And because what they do is the donor, they bring you in first. They get you all opened up and make sure that your kidney's viable before you bring Bruce in. And once the surgeon sees that everything's fine, they bring Bruce in. So I had no problem. Bruce sat with me, his wife, they held my hand. We talked. And so the anesthesiologist came in, the doctor came in, Dr. Benway, and he said, are you ready? And I said, do you guys play music in the operating stadium? And he says, yeah, we do. Why, is there something you want to hear? And I said, yeah, let's put on Pink. He goes, Pink? I said, the song, I'm coming out, so we better get this party started. And that's all I remember. I was out.
How about that?
Yeah. So I never had a negative in my mind ever. I just wanted to go in, get the surgery done, get Bruce a kidney so he can live the rest of his life with his family. And, it's beautiful. He's had 3 grandchildren born since the surgery. So talk about the circle of life.
And you recall what he looked like prior to surgery.
His skin was gray, and interesting thing is Dr. Benway said, because there's 2 surgeons. Mine was Dr. Benway. It's an innie and an outie. So the outie was Dr. Benway. The innie was Dr. Lee. And Dr. Benway said that the minute they hooked my kidney up to Bruce, he'd been gray for about 5 years, that from his toes to his nose, it was a flush of pink. The minute that my kidney was in, it started working. And he went from his toes, pink, 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 all the way up to his nose. And he's had that color ever since. It's remarkable.
And then you got to see him afterwards.
Yes, the next day. It's lovely because at Cedars-Sinai, if you're a donor, they think like you're the queen, right? I got a suite. And, the food, they gave me this menu, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a shrimp cocktail, I'm going to have shrimp scampi, and I'm going to have a steak. Of course, I got all that food, and I really could eat just about this much, but they treat you like a queen. They really do. And so the second day, after I'd had my first really big meal, they brought me down to Bruce's, I think he was on the 4th floor, and his wife was there, and one of his daughters was there, and a few other people. Oh, his mother-in-law was there, Jerry. And it was just just rejoicing. He was sitting up, and he was pink, and he was wide-eyed, and you could just tell that he felt so so much better, and that mentally he knew now that he wasn't going to die. He wasn't going to die, that this saved his life.
And you want other people to have that same experience.
Absolutely. That's my mission. That's my mission in life now. I went from the frozen yogurt queen to the kidney whisperer, and so now, in the last 5 years, I've mentored about 140 people. I've helped match about 45, and over 30, I would say somewhere between 30 and 35, have had transplants. And my most notable, my most proud moment is, I speak at Chapman University. I've spoke to their undergraduate and graduate MBA and entrepreneurship programs for many, many years. And I've known Dr. Jim Doty for many years. So he calls me up one day about 2.5, 3 years ago now. And he started asking me all these questions. And usually I would think he's talking about Chapman or something, because he's Mr. Chapman, right? Dr. Jim Doty. And he was asking me all these questions about kidney. Finally, I said, Jim, why are you asking me all these questions? And he said, Heidi, I was so inspired by what you did to save Bruce's life that I want to do it too. I was like, it was the most wonderful phone call probably I've ever had in my life. And I said, Jim, you're kidding. He goes, no, I want to do what you did. I want to save somebody's life. I want to do it altruistically. I want to do it at UCI Medical Center. They're kind of between Chapman and UCI, they're friends and all that. It's a newer program. He really wanted to lift up the program. It was perfect. And he said, but I don't have any time to do it. If you can set it all up for me, tell me where I have to go, tell me what forms I have to fill out, and all that type of thing. I'd like to donate the kidney during spring break when I'm off. It's those 2 weeks in March, right? So he did it. I set it all up for him. They said, well, Dr. Doty, you're 72, you're too old. And he's a statistician. He's going to research everything, and that's what he did. He found out there was an 82-year-old in England, a gentleman that donated a kidney, so he brought that information back to UCI. So the head of UCI Transplant Center said, okay, you can get tested. But no promises, right? Because, again, Jim's 72 years old. They didn't know he's a rock climber. He's a marathon runner. The inside of his body is probably like a 35-year-old. So with HIPAA laws, nobody can tell you any information. Even when Bruce and I, he had to tell me what was going on. I had to tell him what was going on. So Jim would call me and tell me how the testing went. So he had the stress test, which was a treadmill. Well, here's a marathon runner for decades, a mountain climber for decades. He's in the most fit shape. And so he called me. I said, how did it go? And he goes, I blew him out of the water. So, of course, he got approved. He donated a kidney in March 3 years ago. And so I was in his hospital room the day after his surgery with his wife. And we were talking, and his surgeon came in, and we were chatting, and all of a sudden he gets an email. And it was from somebody like Kathy at chapman.edu. So it was from a Chapman University student. And he read me the letter, and it said, Dear Dr. Doty, my father owns a cabinet-making company in Santa Ana. He has an employee that has been in need of a kidney for a long time. He's been on dialysis for many, many years. The most wonderful news was that he got a kidney over spring break. But the more remarkable news was that kidney came from you. So, I'm reading this. He's reading it to me. I look, I said, Jim, you can't even donate a kidney without Chapman University being involved. And so what Jim did to propel that program, and he got so much press, he brought so much awareness that you don't have to be 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. I was 63 when I donated my kidney, and he donated it at 72. Remarkable man, but he really brought awareness and helped heighten what our goal is now, is to find more kidney donors.
Now, as a kidney donor, do you feel it not living with a kidney?
It's so funny. We talked about this earlier, and people say, well, how do you feel? Or, even like a month after, they were kind of tentative, like not wanting to touch me. And I'm like, I'm fine. I actually am healthier today than when I donated my kidney. And I think a huge part of that is because of the gratitude that I have received. I get it every day. I'm in the post office. Oh, Heidi, you donated the kidney. Oh, you've mentored my brother-in-law. You helped my sister find a kidney. Every time I go anywhere, it's accolades and gratefulness. And what does that do? It empowers you, right? It empowers you. And I think when you're happy and healthy and people are empowering you, your health is going to be stronger. I think it helps with building immunities, with all kinds of things like that, just because you feel so good. The gratitude's coming from every angle. So I don't miss my kidney. God gave me 2 and I only need 1, so why wouldn't I share my spare? And I encourage everybody else to share their spare too. The greatest gift you can give anybody, anytime, is the gift of life.
What is the recovery period?
Well, it varies. For me, and I always say, do as I say, not as I do. I thought I was Wonder Woman. I thought I could go back to work after 10 days. And I did that, and I shouldn't have. So really, the recovery is like I say, you can go back to work after 3 to 4 weeks. Some people, like a gentleman named James Lanningham got a kidney on April 1st, of all April Fool's Day, it's so funny, at USC Keck. And he's a valet at the Newport Beach Country Club. So he's got to get up and down, in and out of cars, running and this and that. Part of what our foundation does is we financially support kidney recipients and donors so they can take that extra time to recover. And so he is taking the full 3 months off, which I think is perfect because he's going to come back healthier, stronger. His recuperation is going to be better. He's not going to have any fallbacks at all. So for me, I should have taken a month, but I didn't. I went back a little too quick. But I tell everybody, depending on what your job is, how much you have to exert, really think of 4 weeks to 12 weeks is what you're going to want to take off.
Now, when you mentor people, what's the age range of people you mentor?
It's been all over the place. I've mentored from Cheyenne Lee. I mentored her. She found a kidney. She got diagnosed when she was 18 or 16 with kidney disease. She was on dialysis. She got a kidney, I think, when she was 21. So I think I started mentoring her when she was 19, and I've mentored all the way up to the 70s. When you talk of Dr. Doty, I've mentored him all the way. I took him from start to finish, and he was 72, and everything in between. Everything in between. It's just amazing.
So the youngest you can be is 18 to donate?
The youngest person I've mentored has been like in the 19.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the age qualifications, but I'm sure that's what it is. I think you have to be, basically an adult. Yes.
So how does your organization help? You say you fund, but do you fully fund? How does that work?
Well, what we do is, the greatest thing, and I told Bruce, if I knew that he needed a kidney 3 years before this, I would have donated a kidney 3 years before, but I didn't know. So awareness is the key. So that's the big thing of our foundation is we bring awareness to the need of so many hundreds and hundreds of people in Southern California that need kidneys. They're dying of kidney disease. They're on various levels of dialysis. You can see them, faltering all the time. So awareness is the key. We do it in many ways. Our foundation prepares flyers, and the flyers basically say hero donor needed. It has a lovely picture of the person that needs the kidney. It has their information. It has a code and a donation link on the bottom of whether it's UCI Medical Center, it's Cedars-Sinai, it's Scripps, whatever hospital, it's right on there. And we provide these beautiful flyers, multicolored artistic flyers, and you put them on all your social media. You put them on LinkedIn. You email them to everybody on your email list, and you ask everybody to share those. And just a gentleman that I just made a flyer for 3 days ago, his name is Vi Tran. He works at Marsh Modern Restaurant at Crystal Cove Promenade, and he already has people who have clicked on the link, filled out the donation form. He's had like over 50 people sharing his flyer. So what is he doing? He's bringing awareness. He's getting the awareness out there. So our foundation does all that type of thing. I hold the hand, like with Vitran, I hold his hand from when he's looking for a kidney now all the way till he gets the kidney and he's back to work, as well as his donor and all the people that are getting tested. I will mentor every one of those people. And with Vi and whoever his donor is, we will financially support you for your out-of-pocket expenses. There's a limit to it, but it's a huge help. We give them a care package after their surgery that will help them in their healing. And we give them that emotional support. We give them, they know they're not alone. They're not alone. And that's one of the greatest things, the greatest gift I can do is let people know who are already terrified, they're dying of kidney disease. I let them know that, hey, this is going to be okay. We're going to get through this together. Let me help you. And our foundation guides the way and gives them all that support. And I have got letters and texts and emails from everybody that I've mentored saying, we couldn't have done this without you. We couldn't have done this without your foundation now with the financial support. I've got a gentleman who's a house painter. He lives in New Mexico. He's coming and donating a kidney altruistically at UCI. He's going to be part of the Paired Exchange program for one of the girls that I'm mentoring, Cindy Kelly. And so she's getting a kidney probably within a couple months. and Adam is donating his kidney next month at UCI. So it's just exciting what's happening. But he said, Heidi, I couldn't donate the kidney if I didn't have your foundation's financial support, if I didn't have you to call and ask, you might think it's crazy, but I need you to answer every little question about what it's going to be like every step of the donation process. And I'm happy to tell him every step, because the end result, he's saving Cindy's life. So that's what our foundation does. And we don't let go of you, because once you've been the donor or it's your recipient and you've got your transplant, we stay in touch. We help you in any way, anything that you need. We're there. We care.
How can people reach you?
They can reach me. The best way is Heidi Miller Kidney Donor at gmail.com. Just simply send me an email. Maybe you have a friend, a family member, somebody who is on dialysis, or they've got kidney failure right now. Call me. Email me. I'll answer all your questions. I'll exchange phone numbers once you email, and I'll be happy to help just about anybody that needs help. And we're basically Southern California. We want to help our regional friends with the gift of life.
And the relationship you have with Bruce?
Well, it's wonderful, because he calls me Sister Heidi and I call him Brother Bruce. One of his daughters, Sabrina, on Father's Day, she posted a picture on Facebook with her father and mother, Bruce and Kathy, and her daughter, Coco. And it said, "Thank you, Heidi Miller, for this Father's Day." Because I found out only after I donated my kidney to Bruce that he only had about 3 months to live. They didn't tell me that before, and I'm glad they didn't. It would have put a lot of pressure on me. But thinking of that, now that he's been able to have 3 grandchildren since our transplant, he's doing wonderful. He's working, of course, full time. He's thriving. He's got a beautiful family. So, he's family now. He's part of my family.
Thank you, kidney donor and the co-founder of Lifesavers Foundation of Orange County, Heidi Miller, for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Kamber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.